Welcome back. 2024 marks the 7th year since the Namibia Students Financial Assistance Fund, also known as NSFAF, transitioned from being under the Ministry of Education to becoming a public enterprise. During this period, the number of students receiving funding from the institution has seen a significant increase, alongside improvements in operational efficiency and service delivery. Joining us with more on this and how the fund is gearing up for the new academic year is the Acting Chief Executive Officer at NSFAF, Mr. Kennedy Kandume. So good evening and welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. To begin with, Mr. Kandume, talk to us about how you would describe the overall performance of NSFAF in 2023.
Okay. Before I speak to the overall performance, it's actually marking 10 years, not 7 years. So,
thank you so much.
So the performance for 2023, one can look at the three aspects. One is that during the 2023 years, we have introduced the monthly payment. If you follow us, it's that previously we used to pay a lump sum, or we pay twice a year. But as for last year, 2023 as it is, we introduced a monthly payment where our beneficiaries are receiving their monthly payment on a monthly basis. What we did, we subdivide what ought to go to them as non-tuition fee with a specific number of months, and then we start dispersing this on a monthly basis. To me, that is an highlight that deserves to be highlighted as a performance improvement. It has brought a lot of operational efficiency. A number of students who otherwise to wait for some time for them to get money to pay for accommodation, transport to school and so forth, has started receiving this on a monthly basis.
That's fantastic.
Yes. The second highlight for 2023 performance is the fact that we concluded awarding process or loan assessment process fairly on time. Around April, somewhere there, we were already done. We know the number of applicants who were eligible for funding and so forth. And in actual fact, we started contracting already with some of them at that point in time. So to me, it's also one of the highlights.
What were the figures around that before you go on to the third point? How many students were awarded assistance, and what was the amount of payout?
For last year?
Yes.
We received over 30,124 applications to be specific. And out of that, 22,178 eligible Namibians were funded. So those were the specific amount. And if you compare to the previous year, it's quite a significant amount, because we are talking about a 30% increase from the 17,000 of the previous year, or 2022, to 2022 academic year to 22,178 student eligible for funding. So that's also one of the highlight in terms of finalizing that process on time, and able to let those that were eligible to know that they're eligible for funding and so forth. The third one what would want also to highlight is the fact that we finished the academic year with 91% payment of those who are owed to be paid. That's now the new intake, the 22,000 that I mentioned, as well as the continuing student. About 91% of those were paid. Maybe you are asking yourself, then what happened to 10%, or roughly 10% or 9%? The reason why we have those is the fact that some of the funds that were to make up 100% were only appropriated during the additional appropriation in October. Hence, we did not have a fund to reach the 100% payment.
All right.
Yes.
Of the 30,000 that you mentioned, applications that you received, and about 22,000 were, of course, then selected for financial assistance. That leaves about 7,000 applicants that were rejected. On what basis do applications get rejected?
The rejection varies. It could also be that an applicant is not meeting the funding requirement in terms of income. This fund, if I may emphasize, is for the needy. The cutoff for the threshold is 500,000 and below 500,000. If your parental income is above 500,000, then on the basis of income you don't qualify. We have what we call the mean testing, where we scale out to how much is coming from a particular household and whether you meet the requirement and so forth. That could be one of the reasons. Another reason can also be academic performance. There's specific academic performance that must be met. One is that for you to qualify to study a degree, for example, at a local institution, you should obtain 25 point in 5 subjects. For a degree, for a diploma is 22 and so forth. So if an applicant does not meet those requirements, obviously then they get to be rejected. So there's those 7,000 in those categories. Yes, and also for those that benefited before from NSFAF, if you were funded to do a bachelor in education, for example, and this time want to change to do a bachelor in IT, for example, we cannot fund you twice for a simple reason that you are not the only one.
Mr. Kandume, what challenges do you believe applicants face when filling in these claim forms?
There's quite a number of challenges, but let me correct you there for claim. There's no such a thing as claim. It's more of like you apply for financial assistance.
So an application.
It's an application. You get to be assessed, and whether you meet the funding requirement, and once you are assessed and you meet the funding requirement, the next step is really for you to contract with the fund and for the fund to disperse money meant for you, either to yourself or to the institution of higher learning. The challenges is, since you asked the challenges, the application is online. We have stopped with the manual application about 9-8 years ago. So what we administer is online application. We found out that some potential applicants face a challenge in terms of access to computers and Wi-Fi and the internet, particularly during the holiday. But once the holiday is over, most of them are moving to the cities, or they are trying to get themselves admitted at the institution of higher learning, and so then they get access to that. But before that, that's what we have identified to be the challenge. So another challenge is when it comes to the disbursement is contracting. I want to emphasize this, that we will not pay until you contract with us. So if there's a delay in the contracting, there's also a delay in the disbursement of funds. For the new intakes.
The 2024 intake online applications are still ongoing, and when is the closing date?
It opened on the 29th of November, and it will run until the 29th of February. So it's a 3-month period. We are urging all the potential applicants there to apply as soon as possible. I checked today, we only received roughly about 4,700. It's quite a drop if you compare to the figures of the application received last year. But it's typical students. They are waiting for the most of the time they wait for the result that will be released tomorrow. We are hoping that the application will pick up as from tomorrow after they receive their results.
Well, Mr. Kandume, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
We'll be right back, and we touch on some health matters right after this.